Born and raised in Chicago, I had a dad that was my Superman. My dad took me to the movies every weekend. He bought me my first car at 16, and whatever I needed, my dad was the guy. Like, he always had cash in his pocket, and whenever I would call my dad, I need money for this, and he would go, all right. And oftentimes he needed to work, do odd jobs, like he was a contractor, bricklayer, mason, and he would do jobs and make sure that I would have, the money that I needed for either college or for car repairs or whatever. But in 2010, I was having a major life moment. I was living in Arizona with my family. I had two adolescent boys, and my marriage was a mess. I was considering leaving. My husband and I were going through a separation, and my dad came to visit me. And my dad is such a cool guy. Like, he's this cool guy. He came to visit and was just so observant. My husband and I were arguing, and I was trying to, like, keep my composure, but I was really mad. We had just gone through an event, and it was just really tense. And so my dad, we went to a football game for my boys, and my dad was just observant, and he took me over to the side, and he was like, hey, listen, I just want you to know I'm here for you, and are you okay? He didn't give me any advice on you need to leave, or I don't, this man, fight him. He just observed and took it all in, and he just said, "Are you okay?" And when I look back, it means so much, because in the few months after that visit, I found out my dad was sick. He was showing symptoms and signs of illness while he was there, and my dad's always been like the healthy person. And he was like, my stomach is bothering me. I don't know why I feel this way, etc., etc. And I was like, Dad, go to the doctor, get it checked out. And he went to the doctor, and he called me one day. He says, the doctors say it's cancer. I'm like, cancer? Okay. So immediately in my brain, my personality is, okay, let's go. We got to fix this. Let's call the let's, like, find the facilities, the hospitals, the best hospitals in Chicago. Let's get into these hospitals. And I'm like ready to go to war. I'm ready to fight. And I find out it is one of the most aggressive cancers, pancreatic cancer. And when I hear pancreatic cancer, because I've never dealt with that before with anybody else, I was like, let me look it up. And I looked it up, and lo and behold, this is not a good situation. And so again, I'm like, let's go. Like, we have no time to waste. I'm calling Cancer Institute of Chicago. And my dad said they've scheduled me for surgery so they can see the status of the cancer. He goes into surgery. I'm in Atlanta. My dad is in Chicago. And not soon after, I get a call. And I don't remember, my sister called me, but I talked to my dad. And the cancer has spread. They've decided we can't even go any further with the surgery. We have to close him up. They cut the surgery short because the cancer had spread everywhere. When I hear that, I'm devastated. This is my Superman. This is my daddy. This is the man who, whenever I needed anything, I could call him. and now there's a possibility that you may not be here? No. No. God, no. So I processed that this is pretty serious. This is stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Who recovers? You know what? I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer, and I believe the word of the Lord, and I believe that by his stripes, my dad is healed. Oh, we finna go to war. So I get my Bible, and I'm reading, and I'm studying, and I feel God leading me. And then I hear people say things that gets me anxious and worried. Good family members that are saying, ooh, you need to come up to Chicago. Your dad is looking bad. He's really skinny. He's losing weight. You need to come. And there's an urgency, and I'm feeling frazzled. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And the Holy Spirit says, you don't move a muscle. Don't you move a muscle. You listen to me, and I will be your front and rear guard. And I was like, oh, okay. And in my mind, I'm thinking, time is ticking. If my dad is really, really sick with stage 4 cancer, I don't have time. And the Holy Spirit says, who are you going to listen to? And so I listened to the voice of God, and I didn't hurry. I didn't hurry that week. And I went up, and I got a chance to spend time with my dad. And I got a chance to talk to my dad. And I got a chance to touch him and have conversation. And I asked him, I said, what do you want, Dad? He says, I just want to be healed. And I sat there on his front porch and just listened and talked. And I don't think I've ever had a moment with my dad that way. I don't think I've ever slowed down enough to listen, because I had always asked for things. I always wanted things. I was always the princess that needed this and that needed that. And at that moment, I really listened to him. I remember I cut his hair that day. My dad was very frail and very small. And in a matter of 4 weeks, my dad was in the hospital and he could barely talk. And when I left that time, I told him, I said, I'm going to be back. I'll be back. I'll be back next month. And he says, oh, no. And so by the time when the next month came and I was calling him, and now his voice was raspy and very little words, and he was talking to me like he was dying. And in my mind, I could not rationalize. I could not understand that my father was going to die. Even though I was a Christian and I was a believer and I believed God and I trusted him, my mind could not understand that he was really dying. And so on the day that he passed, my sister called me and she said, Daddy's gone. And I could not believe it. I knew that I needed to believe God. God told me to believe. He told me to believe. And I hung up the phone and I thought, somebody's going to call me back. They're going to call me back and they're going to say, it's a miracle. He's come back alive. Like, that's the frame of faith that I had. I really believed that God was going to heal my dad. But God had told me to believe. He says, do you believe that I can heal your dad? And I believed. Like, nobody could take this walk away from me. Like, I had trusted and walked that walk. I didn't care what else anybody said. I believed, and he died. It took me years to process what was happening, because I was like, but God. And it was years later that God said, that process, the journey, I asked you, do you believe that I can heal him? Not, I was going to heal him. And so I learned through that process of what true faith, what belief really looks like, what to walk by faith and not by sight. And I did. I passed the test. but my dad died.